When you think of Patek Philippe, you probably think about one of these, or this place, or maybe this guy. But chances are you probably don't think about this.
Behind me is the world's largest collection of 1960s, 70s, and 80s Patek Philippe electronic timing machines.
Yeah, you heard that right.
Well, these are electronic art.
It's true. These things are works of art. But what exactly are these things?
These were machines that were on the cutting edge of technology at the time, that were used in commercial applications, industrial applications, for governments to do any number of different timing functions.
Oh, well, that makes sense. But Patek Philippe? Electronics? When did this happen?
During the post-war period in 1948, Patek Philippe started this electronic clock division.
Get ready for a history lesson.
By 1952, Patek Philippe and Delisle and his team announced to the world and presented to the world the first electronic clock. This was unlike anything the world has ever seen because it had integrated circuits, no moving parts.
When these clocks were produced by Patek Philippe, they were the most accurate clocks technically possible at the time through electronics.
It was the first time that they reached a level of accuracy that was unlike anything history have seen before. No mercury pendulum clock or fancy escapement from the past could match the perfection of these electronic quartz clocks. These machines that were sitting behind us, these machines were some of the most expensive, the most cutting edge, the most coveted. They were locked behind doors. And Patek Philippe marketed this messaging quite clearly in the late 1960s and 1970s. Patek Philippe supplied clocks to the Vatican, to Parliament in London, to the various World's Fair, especially a few miles from here, the 1964 Corona Queens World's Fair, the Geneva Airport or the Zurich Airport, which both were centered around Patek Philippe timing systems. Soon we see warships around the world use this technology. France in particular had Patek Philippe timing systems on all of their ships. Also, the Italian Navy embraced this technology, and of course they had Patek Philippe timing systems. But it wasn't just the military use, it wasn't just the Vatican, it was also the Swiss watchmaking industry utilized Patek Philippe timing systems.
Hold up. What was that?
The Swiss watchmaking industry utilized Patek Philippe timing systems.
Oh. This just got really interesting.
Omega, Vacheron Constantin, IWC, and I also just learned, which is quite interesting, Zodiac had a Patek Philippe master timing system at their factory. But perhaps the most exciting part is Rolex. Rolex in the late 1960s bought Patek Philippe's most state-of-the-art quartz timing systems that they mounted on the wall, proudly painted in Rolex green, signed Rolex right along the bottom for the world to see. But if you squint your eyes and look closely at the dial is signed Patek Philippe. Whether you're launching a rocket into space or you have a warship at sea, or you're in radio broadcasting, even in a hospital or nuclear power plant, ultimately timekeeping is at the very center of that technology. And that's where Patek Philippe came in developing that technology before anyone else.
The build quality is unlike anything I've ever seen in electronics, barring some circuit boards used in the space shuttle. They are all silver-clad circuit boards versus copper. They have tolerated many solderings and desolderings from me and people who've worked on them before me, and the traces and everything are still in perfect condition. They're very tolerant of thermal cycling. The vacuum tube and the way they compensate for temperature changes would cause a variation in oscillation is way ahead of their time. And it was not paralleled until quartz timing was introduced.
Oh, right. these things.
The history of the mechanical watch industry as it moved from mechanical into the quartz crisis is a little bit hazy for a lot of people. But the reality is, in the history of the development of the modern timepiece, it's only part of the story. The fact that mechanical watchmaking is as popular as it is today is no small feat. It's wonderful, but it's not the entire story. And I think that if you're looking at the development of these technologies, both mechanical and electronic, you have to understand the entire thing. And these clocks represent that period of time that is greatly misunderstood.
Ironically, the story that we've all been told is Patek Philippe almost died as a result of the quartz revolution. But we are here to propose a new storyline. Quartz technology was developed by Patek Philippe. It was perfected by Patek Philippe. And the proof is sitting behind me with each of these clocks. Patek Philippe can be appreciated for its aesthetic beauty. It can be respected for its accuracy, but I think at its core, it's an innovator. This ultimate battle to have the most accurate clock ultimately resulted in computers, the iPhone, and everything around us.
This is like Johnson Space Center in the 1960s during the Apollo missions. You've never seen anything like it. They are so impressive, and they make noise. It's incredible. It feels truly mechanical in its nature despite their electronic underpinnings.
By sharing this technology with the world, which is now obsolete, but by sharing it at that point in time, it led to a revolution that's much, much bigger than the quartz revolution. This is indeed a story of the technological revolution that we all are still living through in a way, as we're now sharing information much faster and further than ever before. And I do believe this all started with Patek Philippe. I make the argument that Patek Philippe could be considered almost like Tesla is today. They are at the forefront of developing a technology that is the best of the best. And each of them can be celebrated for where they are in that march towards this perfection. Indeed, each of these pieces has a story to tell. And during this summer, for the first time, each of these pieces will tell their story.
And I think that getting an opportunity to come and see these in person, if you're a watch enthusiast, if you're a scholar of history in this vein, you owe it yourself to come visit us.